So just in case some of you have never seen some of the key replacement parts on the 996 engine, here is the IMS bearing. Now this is the bearing that I took out at over 100,000 miles. This is what a perfectly good IMS bearing looks like. All intact, not all blown up like the parts or some of the photos you see in the ads. But you know, that's over 100,000 miles. I did not have any of the maintenance history on this car that I bought at 87,000 miles 10 years ago. But even with reasonable maintenance, you know, that's what a 100,000 mile IMS bearing looks like. Replaced it, of course, with the Vertex bearing Eternal Fix. That is a oil pressure fed bearing, and so that's what's in the car now. Likewise, at 100,000, they say you should replace the thermostat. So here's the perfectly good thermostat that I replaced, as well as they say you have to replace the water pump at 100,000 miles. So here's the original 996 part number, Porsche water pump, all the little blades intact, everything in perfectly good shape, but it was replaced with a brand new original equipment, Porsche water pump. All right, so I got one more fun facts video. When I was making the driving videos on the car, I heard a little singing coming from the rear. Swapped the tires around to see if it was tire noise. Didn't move with the tire, so I said, well, it must be bearings. So these are the wheel bearings I took out, and that brown crusty stuff you see in there is what's left of the grease. The good news is the little balls themselves don't look pitted or tore up. The races are pretty good. No, you know, no serious pitting, a little discoloration. So I think that singing was a little bit of a cry for help prior to any more of a catastrophic failure. The spec Boxster guys had a lot of problems a couple years ago with bearings coming in that actually had little to no grease, or grease of really poor quality. You know, this is what you really should be putting in there, this red line stuff. See, this is nice and tacky and stringy. That's good grease. That's what's in this bearing. This is a bearing from Detroit Bearing and Axle. They actually make these right here in Michigan. It's a very good quality bearing. It's all frosty because it's been in the freezer for a couple hours, getting ready to be slid back into the hub. So anyhow, one more little fun facts on wheel bearings. By the end of the day here, we should successfully have both rear wheel bearings changed, take it for a little test drive, and make sure that singing is gone. One of the most maligned aspects of the 996 and 986 cars are the headlight assemblies. Called everything but handsome and innovative. These were one of the things that helped save Porsche. Porsche was in deep financial trouble in the mid-90s. The 993 was very expensive to build, and they needed to find ways to introduce efficiency into the manufacturing process. One way was to go to the concept of sub-assemblies that minimized the time it took to assemble the car. So this entire headlight assembly with the fog light, turn signal and all, was made as a sub-assembly, brought in, and simply slides into place and locks down. So the whole assembly process now takes about 20 seconds on the assembly line. On the 993, the similar work would take 2 to 3 hours. So we're going to add a few more fun facts to the videos here. Most folks know that the Boxster and 996 were co-developed. They share significant parts from the standpoint of interior bits, steering wheels, HVAC, shifter seats, seat belts, just all kinds of things that you can readily see. We've already talked about the headlights. So lots of parts been sharing to help reduce the cost to develop the cars. What folks may not realize that also means is that when you develop from the windshield forward essentially 2 models of car from one design, you only have to crash test one. That saves significant amount of development time as well as cost in developing the car. Things like the control arms. These control arms are the same front to rear on the 996, but they're also identical front to rear. They're the identical control arm in the Boxster. So once again, you know, wheel bearings. The rear wheel bearings are identical between the 986 and the 996. Front wheel bearings are identical. Brakes, brake calipers, we know about that. Folks talk about that kind of stuff all the time. But little bits like these little suspension plates, mounting points, there's just a plethora of shared parts that really helped bring down the cost to develop these cars. Power plant, we know the engine geometry, the engine architecture is similar, so you got lots and lots of synergy and overlap there. Transmissions obviously are different from a casing standpoint because of where they fit in the car. So there's clearly difference there. But CVs, stuff like that, just any place that a part could be shared and used in both cars, they were. So just kind of some things from my standpoint that make these cars what I think is kind of an engineering marvel, and gives me a lot of appreciation for them. One more little fun fact, on the pre-2001 cars, there is an emergency front hatch cable tucked up here in the air inlet. If you've ever experienced a dead battery in one of these cars, you know that the front trunk will not open with a dead battery. On the 2001s and olders, you can find this little cable, give it a tug, and you will be able to access the front trunk to get to the battery. On the 986, we know that you got to power up the little terminals in the fuse box to make that happen. While we're up here, you want to keep these radiator areas clear of debris. I was just cleaning these out last week, getting leaves out of them, and I found a little chipmunk who decided to take up residency and expired up here by a warm radiator. You definitely don't want critter carcasses up blocking your radiators and making funky smells as well. So just a couple more of the fun facts of these awesome 986, 996 cars.